4th, and the days started off quiet. We got storms going up over us already. Today we've got a stationary boundary and a little bit of a surface low, and the SPC actually upgraded to a 5% tornado risk. It was a 2%. I almost went home last night, but it's chase on today. We're gonna have slower storms and hopefully some more structure. Let's do this.
For a day where we didn't really expect as much as the days prior, this one really got started early when the storm started firing in the worm sector right after noon. I had good position on the storm already, and it really wasn't moving more than 5 or 10 knots. I had lots of time to just take it in, and after several days with the storms moving 30 to 50 knots, this one felt really good. And the storm continued to intensify as I maintained my position on it. For the first time in almost a week, I was able to just sit under a storm and watch it start to spin. Those dog days of chasing 40-knot storms were over, and I had this beauty right where I wanted it. It was still high-based at the time, but it was showing signs that it really wanted to do it. The storm tried quite a few times, this one being the better of those attempts, but ultimately it couldn't get it done before becoming a high precipitation mess of a storm. By this point, the storm was disorganized and over a really poor road network full of muddy roads that made it really difficult to position. I got way out in front of the storm to try to get my bearings on what was going on in the storm. As I waited for it to come to me, it started to really come back together as a monster high precipitation supercell. A dark shape loomed in the precipitation. Over an area with no roads or population, there could be a monster in there that we'd never know about.
So low contrast though.
As the storm made its march toward us, the roar of the thunder was like nothing I've ever heard. This thing was mad. Eventually the storm made its way to an area with no roads, and another storm off to our south presented a better opportunity at something photogenic. It was time to bail on this first storm and get out from in front of its core. And after narrowly escaping the core on my first storm, I had eyes on my next target, a stationary tail-end Charlie west of Lakin, Kansas. And as I approached the storm from the east, I knew it was going to be something special, with feeder bands going out 30 to 50 miles in front of the storm. I arrived in position on the storm just as it received its first tornado warning. The anticipation I had in this storm was unmatched. I absolutely knew it was going to do something huge. After several attempts at producing a tornado, I got my distance on the storm in preparation for a sunset shot. sat here for over half an hour watching it try over and over to produce a tornado, but this dust swirl was the closest it ever came. Normally as the sun sets, I try to get some distance on the supercells so that I can get a good view of the overall structure, since this time of night the structure on storms really peaks. But I couldn't get far enough from the storm. Normally 10 or 15 miles is plenty to fit it in your frame, but this storm was different. I was over 25 miles from this storm, and it was still filling my frame. I think this was the biggest supercell I've ever seen, but still no tornado. And so the sun went down on another day that ended up being more disappointing than it should have been. A couple of storms north of the storms I was chasing ended up producing several photogenic tornadoes this day, and even though I got a couple beautiful supercells, that sting of 2021 continued as I knew I had missed something special not far from where I had spent the night before. An overall memorable and exhilarating chase day was again clouded by my chase decisions and the things that I had missed because of them. I headed home for a much-needed day off after this day, still in need of some sort of redemption for the last week of missed opportunities. Little did I know that chance at redemption was only 2 days away, and boy was that going to be an interesting day. More on that next week.